The Lakers have two big games coming up this week, but who exactly is going to be able to take the floor? Major injury problems for the Lakers stacking up. We'll get to it next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter where you get your podcast, this one's always free and never behind a paywall. We appreciate you making Locked On Lakers on YouTube, 37,000 subscribers. Thanks for making us a big part of the number one sports podcast network anywhere that you're going to be able to find. I'm Ryan Kamenetsky. That's Andy Kamenetsky. Been covering this team for a while, Andy, and it is always fun when the injuries start to pile up at these high-profile moments, like right before Christmas. The Lakers, two big games this week, Tuesday against the Suns, and then obviously Christmas Day against Houston at the Crypt. And we have no idea who's going to be playing in these games.
No, the Lakers did not practice on Sunday, and right away, just preemptive potential apologies. I have been battling bronchitis, it turned out. I was officially diagnosed on Sunday. Some of the YouTube commenters noticed how there were a few shows in a row that I was doing while bundled up in heavy jackets and ski caps. It's because I was sick. I am now in the constant...
No one is interested in your excuses. You either do the show or you don't do the show.
No, I clearly am doing the show. What I'm giving excuses for is why I may be coughing occasionally during it. Just so people can understand why. But anyway...
You're in uniform. Play the game.
The Lakers did not practice on Sunday, which meant we did not get any word on Luka's condition other than leg contusion, which in theory is at least better than calf strain, like a calf contusion.
Right. Sort of, they didn't call it his calf on the broadcast. If you were watching the game Saturday against the Clippers, he was sort of rubbing that area.
Right.
And there was also no indication as whether or not the injury happened during that game or...
Well, actually, that's not true. That's actually not true. Dave McMenamin reported...
Oh, they did clarify. Good. Okay.
Yeah, well, that there was contact made during the first quarter between, I want to say, Bogdan Bogdanović and Luka Dončić in the calf area. Like I said during the show, though, and like you can see the impact there, where like it's like essentially knee to calf, and that can really hurt when you're going full speed.
Oh, yeah.
That being said, though, Luka started this game to me looking physically out of sorts, basically from the opening tip and looking uncomfortable. So we may get more clarification as things go along. It would not surprise me if this impact exacerbated what he was already feeling. It wouldn't surprise me if all of these minutes without Austin in particular have started to add up a bit for Luka. But regardless, we don't know any update on Luka. Austin and DeAndre were not ruled out by JJ Redick for Tuesday's game against the Suns, but they were also not ruled in. It just, at this point, it is an open question. Gabe Vincent, by the timeline the Lakers gave, is definitely out. And Rui, unless he recovered from this hip groin strain very quickly, because JJ had said he hoped it would be no more than 3 to 5 days. 3 days would be the Suns game. So I would love to be wrong. I would be very surprised if Rui's available.
So if you're keeping score at home, that means the Lakers could be down as many as 4 starters once again, as they were in the second half of the game on Saturday. And obviously, next man up and so on and so forth. We all believe in these philosophies, Andy, but there is only so much the next man can do, depending on how many next men you are relying on to do these sorts of things. I want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. So there's only so much, like we did a post game on Saturday. There's only so much you can say about, performance or this or that or whatever, other than, did they continue to play hard? Did they make a game out of something that, maybe by all rights didn't deserve to be? And the answer to both those questions is absolutely yes. The Lakers, in that sense, had a lot to be proud of in terms of their effort. But it's a practical business, Andy. And if you don't have 4 starters going into a game against a Phoenix team that is certainly better than expected, they're in the playoff race right now in the West, and then obviously Houston is a very good team, although they lost to Sacramento on Sunday night. You run into just practical problems like this. This has an impact on the standings, on other things. It wears probably on LeBron more to have him by himself with, trying to carry a team through games. Like, there are knock-on effects to having this many players out, even if it doesn't mean anything in terms of whether the team's good or not.
Well, what's interesting about that question of whether the team is good or not, and I would say they are good, just because 19-8 to me by definition means you are good. But they are a team that is very, I think, good, but they are difficult to get a real beat on. And they're difficult, I think, to read their entire potential or to really assess how good they can be, where exactly they are in their progress, in very large part because of all the players that they've been missing. If you look right now, they're the 4 seed as of this recording. That would give them an opening round of home court advantage in the playoffs. Like, all of that is really good. They have by far the lowest point differential of any of the top 6 Western Conference teams at plus 1.2.
Well, this is in part, it's worth noting because when they lose, they tend to lose by like 40.
Right. But they also don't tend to win huge.
Correct.
Either.
Yes.
That's part of it too. It's not just that they get absolutely shellacked when they lose. For example, against the, some of the bottom feeders of the world, they have very good records against those teams, but they have often allowed some of those games to become closer than they should be. Like, they have at least 1, if not 2 wins over the Jazz that were clutch wins. That should not be a thing over the Utah Jazz. So what I'm really getting at, though, is the Lakers have had so little continuity over the course of this season and so many different guys in and out of the lineup. A friend of the show, Trevor Lane from Lakers Nation, tweeted out this on Sunday, quote, "The Lakers have used 16 different starting lineups in 27 games this season, all due to player availability, not tactics." In other words, like not JJ deciding to go in a different direction with a lineup. Then he retweeted that with, "The Lakers' current starting 5, if healthy, Luka, Reaves, Rui, LeBron, Ayton, has played 164 possessions on the season. The Wolves, with Anthony Edwards, Dante DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, lead the league with 542. So it really gives an idea of just how starkly behind the Lakers are from the rest of the teams that really want to make noise in the playoffs in terms of just pure continuity, but also pure build. And I think this is important too, because remember last year, Luka arrived midseason, but they didn't get immediate time with Luka because he was still dealing with an injury of his own. And then LeBron missed some games, Rui missed some games. They even last year's group to this year, I don't think there's as much continuity as I think is sometimes presumed. And then you go into this year, LeBron missed what it was the opening 14 games. And then they've had all these other guys in and out of the lineup. I believe Jake LaRavia is the only rotation player who's played in all 27 games so far. So again, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're good. They're having a good season. And if nothing else, you could argue maybe even either their ceiling is pretty high or their floor is pretty high, depending on how you want to look at it, that they're 19-8, despite all of this turbulence. But I still think it raises that question of how good can they be? And are they actually going to be in the position to reach that? Like have enough games together
Right.
to really maximize it?
There is a lot going on, I think, with that question. I mean, we kind of, kicking around that stat that we saw this morning from Trevor. I think both of us, figured we'd be talking about this basic question on the show for Monday. And, in thinking about it, there's not one answer to that question, at least in my mind. And I'll explain what I mean by that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move.
So like you look, Andy, at this question of whether or not how these injuries impact the Lakers. It's not like, take Denver, for example. Like Aaron Gordon suffered a pretty significant injury. They've missed Christian Braun. Christian Brown. They've had some guys in the lineup, but and I'm not saying like that doesn't, like, losing Brown and Gordon for how long they've had, and they're still chugging right along. First of all, testament to Nikola Jokic, but also I'm not trying to say that their situation is somehow better than the Lakers situation. I think both of them are difficult for each team, but it's a different kind of thing when you get guys in the lineup for like 6 games and then they miss 3 and then they're out for 2 and then they're there for 5 and then they miss 1 and that it's not the same 2 guys the entire time. It's 6 different guys. And that's sort of what it's been for the Lakers, where, Luka's played most games, but then he's missed like 3 or 4 here or there. The only guy who sort of missed a bunch of games and then came back is LeBron. But LeBron then is limited too by, right now he's not going to play a lot of back-to-backs, and you got to be sort of careful with him. And then Reaves goes out of the lineup, and, Ayton suddenly is gone. And like, it's not just that there's not a lot of continuity. They can't even get continuity, forget with their starters, with any kind of lineup. And so I think from what you were talking about before, no question, this hurts their ceiling in terms of, I think, understanding them, the how each other play and all the you're just limited by reps. Those things are built by reps. The Lakers are not going to get the number of reps that I think they hope they would. It's hard to say though how much that limits their ceiling, both because other teams are dealing with their own stuff, but like, I feel like this is one of those things where it's like, it clearly matters, but quantifying how much is never easy.
Well, here's one way where using one of your own examples that I think illustrates just how much it matters. You talked about the guys that Denver have been missing, and they do matter. Like Aaron Gordon has turned into, I would argue, one of the best role players in the league. Like,
Yep.
I mean, as far as fulfilling your specific non-star, high-end role player role, he is as good as anybody in the league. You know who are the 2 guys who've been available for basically the entire season for Denver? Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. They've played together forever. Like, that in and of itself gives you an advantage while you are dealing with these, again, difficulties for Denver that are real. The Lakers don't have that to fall back on with their core of, Luka and LeBron, or LeBron and Austin. They have more of that. There's definitely more synergy between LeBron and Austin. But you mentioned there are also the considerations with LeBron and the way you want to use him at this stage of his career. But if you look at like the 2-man data and the 3-man data and the 5-man data, like the more the I guess ostensive big three of the Lakers play together, Luka, LeBron, and Austin, the worse the numbers get. And, Luka and Austin together this year in 442 minutes are a net 8.6. They've been very good together. LeBron and Austin in 220 minutes, they're a minus 2.2. I think, again, once you start getting into LeBron's minutes, I think it starts getting into a lot of who was available, because
I think you have to filter like which game was it.
Right. Well, LeBron's return has also coincided with a lot more injuries. Like the period where they missed LeBron, they managed, though, to have more guys regularly available, I think, for the most part, since LeBron got back. And then LeBron and Luka are a minus 7.4 net rating together in 239 minutes. As a trio together, they're a net minus 5.1. The starting lineup that seems to be JJ's preferred group of LeBron, Luka, Austin, Rui, and Ayton, they're in 76 minutes, which in of itself ain't a lot, minus 13.1. But then you look at that same group with Marcus Smart in for LeBron, positive 13.5 in basically the same minutes. I am not suggesting that makes Marcus Smart a better player than LeBron. I think it does suggest he's a better fit for that group.
I was about to say, it really says is start Marcus Smart instead of Rui Hachimura.
Right, but I think what this speaks to, and the reason I bring up this data at all, is that the Lakers are winning games, but they are not doing it in a way that gives you, I think, complete confidence in how they will be able to get through competition against the toughest teams or playoff series or things like that. There's still time to figure these kinks out and get it better, but the more games they don't have, guys, we're already 27 games in. The more games that go without a full complement of players, the harder this becomes.
There's no question. Yeah, reps mean something. And when you have Luka and you have LeBron, who are savants, and you have Austin Reaves, who's not sure he's quite at that level, but he's pretty damn high.
He's probably going to make the All-Star team this year, just so those who hate the concept of this can prepare themselves. I would at this point bet on him making the All-Star team.
Unless he suddenly doesn't play enough games. It's like they're running.
There is no game.
That's true. There's no game limit for.
I would just prepare yourself, whether you think worthy or not. I think Austin's going to make an All-Star team. So just brace yourself for this in February. You've got like a month or so to really lean into it.
I will tell you though, where I think it's not all negative, because they are losing something from this. I'm not, but we both agree on that. It does, though. They have been able to, I think, forge kind of like a certain resourcefulness, a confidence in their ability to do them. And I think there is to me at least, kind of was thinking about this throughout the afternoon. To me, I think maybe a correlation between their ability, like their crunch time stats and their crunch time record, and all of this upheaval that they've played through. Like there's just this sort of unity and chemistry and belief that they've put together for the games that are close enough for them to win in the last 5 minutes. And I would say like 6 of the 9 losses or whatever, they haven't been close enough. But in the games that are close, they do believe in their ability to execute and play and make a play and do all that stuff, regardless of who is available to them. And the reason they believe that is because they've shown they can do it. So that has value come playoff time, resilience, chemistry, a confidence to be able to play in close situations, all that kind of stuff. That's happened over those, these first 26 games?
27.
27 games. Like that's not nothing.
Agreed.
But ideally, you'd be in a situation where you could kind of develop both, and the Lakers just aren't, and they are not going to get there. It's impossible at this point.
Well, it may not be impossible, but they need to start getting everybody on the court together, like ASAFP, and then keep them there. And then if they can do that, and then I think also really start treating all of these games more, even the ones against the lessers among the league, like Luka after the Utah game, when he was asked about the team's defense, he even acknowledged, like, yeah, we have a habit of hearing that a star player, in this case, Lauri Markkanen, is out, and kind of playing to that expectation. Like he acknowledged this is what we do. They need to stop doing that, because they need to start treating all of these games as workshops and ways to start honing in on doing everything better. Treat all of these games as opportunities, because we're already almost a third of the way through the season, and you've barely had this whole group together. And again, they're a good team. Winning a title is really effing hard. We've covered, for those who are unaware, we covered the Kobe Powell back-to-back championships teams for ESPN and the LA Times. Like, we were around those groups all the time. It's hard to do.
Let me tell you what I meant by impossible. I'll do that next, and then the NBA, I think it's fair to say, has a long-standing issue between fans, coaching, and officiating. It's gotten worse this year in ways that I think are different than like the typical arguments that people have about officiating. We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different, particularly if you're in your fantasy playoff, and intense. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching games, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. For example, live betting, it's best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, hopefully not one that you're playing against, a defense tightens up, hopefully the one you are playing, or momentum flips after a turnover, like, say, Derrick Henry fumbling when you're playing against him. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment with live spreads, money lines that adjust instantly, and player props that update as the guys heat up. It helps you lock in every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. Place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you.
So just to finish off this part of the conversation, like it's not that I don't think the Lakers can reach a certain level, so to speak. It's just that they're not, whatever the maximum number of like realistically achievable reps were at the beginning of the year, that number is lower now, and it's going to get lower still over the next game or two, probably, because some of those guys aren't going to be there. And so just in that regard, the new best case scenario isn't as good as the previous one. And so reps mean something, they're not going to get as many as they could have. So we'll get to this referee thing in just a second, but I do want to remind people about the Everydayer Club. We get your emails. We understand that, the show has got advertisements. Some of you want a different experience. We pride, the network has a lot of pride in providing the shows for free. But if you want something that is a little more customized and a little more ad-free, with a couple more perks, you can join the Everydayer Club. You get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked on Lakers, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. You are invited to members-only Locked on Everydayer Club Discord, the Locked on Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of Locked On Lakers. It's a place where y'all can hang out, Lakers conversations. Andy and I try to pop in there, all that kind of stuff. So if you can go check out the show notes and see the Everydayer Club, or you can go to lockedonlakers.supercast.com and check it out there, sign up. So again, if you want the show a little differently, ad-free, this is your way. If you want it the same, do nothing. It's $5 a month or $50 a year. That's how you sign up. So anyway, it's normal for people to complain about the refs in all sports. It's particularly cultural, I think, in the NBA. It's really part of the culture in the NBA post Tim Donaghy. But this year feels different. JJ Redick was the latest after the game on Saturday to complain, not just like in a way that feels like politicking, but like viscerally angry and confused and confounded by what they're being told by officials, by the league. And it's creating a real problem that I think is different than normal year to year. Everybody bitches about the ref kind of stuff.
Well, there's a couple things in there. First of all, JJ was very unhappy because there was a play, excuse me, that he wanted to challenge and sorry, bronchitis, and was essentially told, like not challengeable. He didn't understand how it couldn't be challengeable. He described it as an insane definition and then repeated insane again. But then, and this was the part that really jumped out at me when he was talking about the referees in general and his unhappiness with them. Quote, overall, the consistency. It's something I'm going to talk about with them tomorrow. The consistency needs to be addressed. That needs to be addressed, and it will be. I think any coach, any player, what we ask for is consistency. That's not to single out any official or any crew. That's not about that. We need to know what it is night to night. We've had a number, and this is where I get frustrated a little bit. I keep asking the league to please reach out to me and respond every time I do the coach's feedback thing. I don't get any response from the league. Nobody ever reaches out to me. That is JJ basically saying, tell me how much to write this check out for and whose name to put in there. I don't give an F. And also it's like, I dare you to find me after I am letting people know I'm following the process and I'm getting ghosted. Right. Like, I mean, that is very, very pointed, specific commentary. You and I have covered the Lakers and the NBA for about 20 years. I have heard just about every single possible complaint about the officials from players or coaches over the years. I have never heard that one specifically. I have been trying to get hold of the league and they don't respond. Like, that is really searing stuff.
Well, it's an interesting insight too, just that they like, this is stuff the league is soliciting. Hey, essentially call the hotline if you've got something to weigh in on. Yeah. And whatever, but like, you're right. JJ is following the process here and the process isn't working. And I think that's part of it. But I mean, I actually think NBA officials, in terms of like when they blow a whistle and when they don't, actually do an excellent job. I think it is an impossible game to officiate in the sense that these guys are too big, too fast, too strong. And, the fact that the referees are as correct as they are, as often as they are, to me is really impressive. The consistency issue, though, just as somebody watching Laker games from night to night, it really is vastly different. Different crews, different. There is, the stuff that you can do, even if it's called relatively consistently throughout a game. But like some nights, it's everything, called this, that, whatever Other nights, it's nothing. Some nights, it's, they're picking on, every screen. And other nights, that what was a foul last night doesn't seem to be a foul tonight. And that is incredibly frustrating. It's frustrating as a fan. And I'm just watching. If I were playing the game and if I was certainly trying to strategize and coach the game, I pick a lane.
Well, it's
And from night to night, the variance in what is and isn't a foul needs to be much tighter than it currently is. There's just too much variance in how games are called. I think that to me is the most fair criticism.
Well, it's interesting because it really is coming to a head, because this is JJ's complaints are coming at a time where Chris Finch just got fined and ejected for really going after a referee. Ime Udoka just got fined. JB Bickerstaff accused a crew chief of bias. Marcus Smart just got fined. I didn't even know this until recently. There was so much other stuff going on in the Utah game, but he apparently directed some type of obscene gesture at the ref.
I believe ornithologically speaking, they call that the bird.
Well, you know what? I don't know, because there are many different obscene gestures.
I believe it was a
Okay.
flipping the bird situation.
It could be. It very well could be. I'm just saying I can't report that with insider knowledge. And Marcus's thoughts on it, other than, again, like JJ saying, he wants consistency, and also he feels like the refs won't they will not let you talk to them enough. He said, like, he feels like, particularly as a team captain, he should be able to talk to them, and he's like, you're not able to talk to them. And he said, like, look, if this is what I got to do to make my point, all right, $35,000 well spent.
$35,000 cry for help.
Yeah, I mean, that's the perks of being a millionaire many times over. But like, it's interesting too, because we're not far removed from an NBA memo that was made public about the league wanting to cut down on perceived foul hunting by offensive players. And yet, since that memo came out, free throw attempts are way up. Personal fouls are way up. And I think it is, like you said, very difficult for everybody to figure out exactly how games are going to be called. There's also the stoppages that can take forever, the reviews that take too long, that end up falling on the refs as well, and part of that general dissatisfaction. Like, to your point about the game being, these guys being so fast and so big, the game is also really spread out. Like, I think they should add a fourth ref and start dividing.
If there's space, yeah. I don't know, like, logistically how that works on the floor, but they should pilot something like that at the G League and see if it makes a difference.
I would look at something like adding a fourth ref, and then at that point, kind of refereeing in quadrants, and you only call stuff in your quadrant. You don't call stuff that somebody else should be over there. You don't have the vantage point for it. I think reviews should be 60 seconds tops. And I also think should not be reviewed by the refs in question. I think it should be reviewed by the league office, because those refs, it's difficult, I think, to remove the psychology of wanting to try to either cover for each other or not call each other out, or either way. I think
don't they get help from New Jersey on some of these things?
I would leave them out of it altogether. I would just have somebody in the league office just do this 60 seconds, or the call stands. If you can't figure it out in 60 seconds, move it along. I would find ways to help refs out more. I also think the players and the coaches do need to understand that every coach on both sides, every player on both sides, thinks there should and should not be a foul called at all times.
I mean, Nick Smith on Saturday had a play where he hacked, I think it was Kawhi, across both arms. Like, it was such and looked like, he was being accused of a crime. Well, it's like, I agree with you, but like, so the fixes for the referees, there are probably a lot of different ways to do it. But here's why this matters. Beyond the quality of the product, which is obviously a big deal, and it can be frustrating to watch the games. The NBA is a hyper online league, and so these types of controversies don't play well in that setup. But it's really important, because teams build their rosters and strategies and some of these things about around to some degree about how a game is officiated. The Lakers are a team that, as we saw on Saturday, struggles to shoot the ball on the outside. They are built to get to the free throw line. That could become a problem in the playoffs, but that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like, a foul needs to be, they need to understand what fouls are so that over the course of the season, they can lean into their strengths. They can figure out how to maximize. I'm not talking about foul hunting. I'm talking about guys who drive the lane, create angles, cut, do all kinds of stuff that make it possible for them to lean into a strength, which is free throw shooting. If it's different from game to game, you don't know how that strategy works or doesn't work. It's not just complaints about the aesthetics of the game or because it's annoying or because you feel like your team is getting screwed. Fundamentally, what JJ is arguing about here is, I don't know how to coach my team because I don't know if the stuff that we want to do as a team that likes to get to the free throw line is going to work, not because we're not getting fouled or drawing the contact, but because we don't know what foul is night to night. And then you get into some of the inconsistencies with instant replay and stuff like that. So it's not just bitching, it's also important. So it is different, though. Well, you agree, like, it feels different this year, right?
It does. And look, it's not like you and I spend a lot of time on shows complaining about the ref.
No,
the
very
officiating.
rarely.
I mean, it's only been a handful of games at most where I think we've even mentioned the refs, much less complaining. But the animosity that is building right now between players and coaches versus the refs, I think it's something that was starting to build last year and is really coming to a head this season and needs to be addressed.
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 37,000 subscribers to the channel, many of whom are currently complaining about the officiating, I suspect, and wondering when players will come back from injury. We will certainly update everybody for Tuesday's show. Whatever we know, you will then know right after. Again, take a look at the show notes. Think about the Everydayer Club if you want a different experience. Find out if this is one for you that you think you would benefit from. Either way, we appreciate you tuning into the show. First listen every day. We will be back tomorrow. Thank you very much.